Mathematics Paper 1, Pure Mathematics 1, Wednesday, 7 October 2020. Answer all questions and ensure that your answers to parts of questions are clearly labeled. You should show sufficient working to make sure your methods are clear. Answers without working may not gain full credit. Question number 1. Find the first four terms in ascending powers of x of the binomial expansion of 1 plus 8x to the power half, given each term in simplest form. Explain how you could use x equals to 1 over 32 in the expansion to find an approximation for square root of 5. There is no need to carry out the calculation. To do question 1a, we would use this binomial expansion formula. So where we will replace x with 8x and we will replace n with a half. So n is a half, so it would be 1 plus half times 8x plus n is a half, and then bracket half minus 1, and then 8x all squared. And you have to be careful here because it is the 8 squared and the x squared as well. And you do the same, n bracket n minus 1, and then when you come to x cubed, it would be 8x cubed. So 8 cubed and then x cubed. When you put that in your calculator, you will get 1 plus 4x minus 8x squared plus 32x cubed. For question 1b, you substitute x equals to 1 over 32, and you would get 1 over 32 times 8 plus 1. That gives you 5 over 4 to the half. 5 to the power half is square root of 5, and square root of 4 is 2. So what you're going to do is when you substitute 1 over 32 in place of x, you'll get your answer, but you don't want the 2. So you would have to multiply the result by 2 because you only want to get square root of 5. So multiplying by 2 get rid of the 2 or cancels the 2. So that's your complete answer for questions 1a and 1b. Question number 2. By taking logarithms of both sides, solve the equation. 4p minus 1 equals to 5 to the power 210, giving the value of p to 1 decimal place. To do question number 2, we're going to use this power to the front law or the power law. Log of x to the k base a is equals to k log x to the base a. So the k comes in front. So what we want to do first is we put log in front. Log 4 to the power 3p minus 1 and log 5 to the 210. 3p minus 1 comes to the front and 210 comes to the front. Now it is times log 4. So we take the times log 4 to the right, it becomes divide by log 4. Now it is minus 1 on the left, we take it to the right, it becomes plus 1. So 3p is equals to 210 log 5 over log 4 plus 1. It's times 3p. We take the times 3 to the right, it becomes divide by 3. And you would put all of that in your calculator to get the answer. And when we put that to the calculator, we put 210 log 5 divided by log 4 plus 1 and the bracket divided by 3, you get 81.6008. And the answer to 1 decimal place is 81.6. So that's the complete answer for question number 2. Question number 3. Relative to a fixed origin, point A has position vector 2i plus 5j minus 6k. Point B has position vector 3i minus 3j minus 4k. And point C has position vector 2i minus 16j plus 4k. Find AB. Show that the quadrilateral OABC is a trapezium, giving reasons for your answer. For question 3a, we're going to use this formula. AB is equals to OB minus OA, where OA and OB are the position vectors of A and B respectively. It's very important. It is OB minus OA, the second letter minus the first. So when we do that, AB is 3I minus 3J minus 4K minus 2I plus 5J minus 6K. So 3I minus 2I, it gives you I. Minus 3J minus 5J gives you minus 8J. And minus 4 minus 6, it gives you plus 2. Minus 4 minus 6. This becomes a plus. It becomes 6 minus 4. It gives you 2K. Question 3b. I've written vector A as a column vector, B as column, C as column, and AB as column. And you will notice that if you multiply 2 times AB is 1 minus 8, 2. So 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times minus 8 is minus 16. 2 times 2 is 4. So that means OC is the same as 2 times AB. If you look there, you have OC is the same as 2 times AB. That means OC and AB are parallel. OC is parallel to AB. So OABC is a trapezium. A trapezium has one pair of parallel sides. So I've got here a diagram for trapezium. So that means AB is parallel to OC. So a trapezium, one pair of opposite sides are parallel. So it is important to note that there are 2 definitions for a trapezium. One stating that it is a shape with one pair of parallel sides, the other with only one pair of parallel sides. So any calculations with OA and BC in this question may be ignored, even if it is correct. You just want to show that 2 sides are parallel. So that's your complete answer for questions 3A and 3B. Question number 4. The function f is defined by f of x is equal to 3x minus 7 over x minus 2. Find f inverse of 7 and show that f of x is equal to ax plus b over x minus 3, where a and b are integers to be found. So to do question 4a, the first thing we need to do is to find f inverse of x and then substitute in x equals to 7. So we would change f of x and call it y. So that means y equals to 3x minus 7 over x minus 2. The x which I've put in yellow, we're going to make that x the subject. So to make x the subject, we'll cross multiply. It becomes y times x minus 2 is equals to 3x minus 7. Now we would expand. Y times x is yx. Y times minus 2 is minus 2y. After that, we will put all the x to the left and all the others to the right. So minus 3 will come to the left, plus 3 will come to 3x will come to the left, it will be minus 3x. And minus 2y will go to the right, it will become plus 2y. Now we factorize. There's x there and there's x there. So if x comes out of the bracket, is y minus 3 equals to minus 7 plus 2y. After that, we divide by y minus 3. So x now is minus 7 plus 2y divided by y minus 3. Finally, we can swap x and y. So you get the new expression. And that y now is your f inverse of x. So to get f inverse of 7, you replace x with 7. So wherever you see x, you put 7. So it becomes minus 7 plus 2 times 7 over 7 minus 3. So f inverse of 7, it gives you 7 over 4. For question 4b, we want to find f of x. So we will substitute f of x to replace x in f of x. So if you follow that blue line I've put, so that's f of x, that will replace the x, and that will replace the f of x, will replace the x, and it will replace the x in f of x. So we would have the expression 3 bracket 3x minus 7 over 2 minus 7 over 1 all over 3x minus 7 over x minus 2 minus 2 over 1. So we have numerator and denominator. Now we're going to do this type of question. Let's work with the numerator first, simplify it, and then after we simplify the denominator, and then after we put them together. So to do the numerator, we would multiply, cross multiply, follow those yellow lines. It will be 3 times 3x minus 7 times 1 is equals to minus 7 times x minus 2. So 3 times x will give you 9x. 3 times 3x will give you 9x. 3 times minus 7 gives you 21. Minus 7 times x will give you minus 7x. And minus 7 times minus 2 will give you 14. So 9x minus 7x gives you 2x. Minus 14, minus 21 plus 14, it gives you minus 7 over x minus 2. Now we're going to deal with the denominator. So for the denominator, we'll have 3x minus 7 times 1 minus x minus 2 times 2. So we remove the brackets. 3x minus 7 minus 2 times x is minus 2x. Minus 2 times minus 2, it gives you plus 4. 3x minus 2x, it gives you x. Minus 7 plus 4, it gives you minus 3. Now we'll put the numerator and the denominator together. So the numerator divided by the denominator. We change the divide to a times and flip the second fraction. So we'll have x minus 2 in the denominator and x minus 2 in the numerator would cancel. So you're left with 2x minus 7 divided by x minus 3. And that means your A is the 2 and your B is the minus 7. So that's your complete answer for 4A, 4B, and the final part of 4B. Question number 5. A car has 6 forward gears. The fastest speed of the car in first gear is 28 kilometers per hour. In sixth gear is 115 kilometers per hour. Given that the fastest speed of the car in successive gears is modeled by an aromatic sequence, find the fastest speed of the car in third gear. Given that the fastest speed of the car in successive gears is modeled by a geometric sequence, find the fastest speed of the car in fifth gear. So what we do is we want to use an aromatic sequence. And I've got at the top there the formula for the aromatic sequence. A is the first term and D is the difference. So we got the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth gear. First is 28 and the sixth is 115. Now, if we count the difference, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we find 115 minus 28, that gives us 87. 87 divided by 5. The 5 comes from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that gives us 17.4. That's the difference, 17.4 each. Now we use this formula for the n term, dn plus a minus d. The formula is the same like this one. I've just rearranged it slightly differently. A is the first term, which is 28. So 28 is the first term. The difference is 17. So using that formula for the n term, the difference is 17, and there's an n term plus A is 28 and D is 17. So that will give us 17n plus 28 minus 17.4 gives you 10.6. Now for the third year, n is 3. So we substitute n is 3 in there. So 17.4 times 3 plus 10.6. That gives us 62.8 kilometers per hour. And that is for the third year. For part B, 5B, the n term is given by that formula at the top, a arrow to the n minus 1. First term, n is 1, so a arrow to the 1 minus 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. So arrow to the power 0 is 1. So it's a. So the first term is 28 kilometers per hour. The sixth term is a arrow to the 6 minus 1. 6 minus 1 is 5. So the sixth term is a arrow to the 5. But we know a is equal to 28. So a is equal to 28. So you substitute 28. So the sixth term is equal to 28 times arrow to the 5. But the sixth term is 115. So 115 is equals to 28 times arrow to the 5. So arrow to the 5 is 115 divided by 28. The opposite of arrow to the 5 is the fifth root. So we want to find the fifth root of 115 over 28. Now, we want to find the fifth term, a arrow to the 5 minus 1. 5 minus 1, it gives you 4. So the fifth term is a arrow to the 4. We need to sub in for a, and we need to sub in for r. So since a is 28, and r is the fifth root of 115 over 28, and you put that in your calculator, and that should give you the answer of 86.694. So in the Casio calculator, you will put 28, you will put the bracket, and then you will put the fifth root of 115 divided by 28 to the power 4, and that will give you 86.694. And to round it to one decimal place, you put a line after the 6, and the 9 is bigger than 5. You add it to 6, it becomes 86.7. So that's your complete answer for question 5A, 62.8 kilometers per hour. And your answer for question 5B, 86.7 kilometers per hour. Question number 6. Express sine 2x plus 2 cos x in the form r sine x plus alpha, where r and alpha are constants. R is greater than 0, and 0 is less than alpha less than pi over 2. Give the exact value of r and give the value of alpha in radians to 3 decimal places. The temperature, theta degrees Celsius, inside a room on a given day is modeled by the equation, where T is the number of hours after midnight. Okay, we're going to do part A first. And for 6A, we're going to use the formula below. So A sine x plus or minus b cos x can be expressed in the form r sine x plus or minus alpha. So we're going to use this first one to help us to do question 6. So for question 6A, we will write r sine x plus alpha as r sine x cos alpha plus r cos x sine alpha. Now, when we compare 1 sine x plus 2 cos x, we compare it with r sine x cos alpha and r cos x sine alpha. So the 1 is similar to r cos alpha because it's 1, in front of it is sine x. R cos alpha, in front of it is sine x. So that means 1 is equal to r cos alpha. When we compare the 2, is equivalent to arrow sine alpha, because in front of 2 is cos x, in front of arrow sine alpha is cos x. So cos x, cos x. So what is in front 2 is equals to arrow sine alpha. So 1 is arrow cos alpha, 2 arrow sine alpha equals to 2. Now to solve this simultaneous equation, we can square them and then add them. So arrow squared cos squared alpha equals to 1 squared. Arrow squared sine squared alpha equals to 2 squared. When you add them, 1 squared plus 2 squared will give you 5. Arrow squared cos squared alpha plus arrow squared sine squared alpha. You can factorize arrow squared out, and then you get cos squared alpha plus sine squared alpha. Cos squared alpha plus sine squared alpha is identical to 1. It's one of the identities. So you end up with arrow squared is equals to 5, and arrow is square root of 5. Another way to get arrow quickly is 1 squared plus 2 squared square root. That gives you 5. Watch that. 1 squared plus 2 squared and square root of that will give you root 5. Equation 2 divided by 1. Arrow sine alpha divided by arrow cos alpha is equals to 2 divided by 1, which is 2. It becomes tan alpha. Alpha will be inverse tangent of 2, and make sure your calculator is in radians, and you get 1.1071487, and alpha would be 1.107 when you round it to 3 decimal places. So what they're saying is sine x plus 2 cos x is root 5 sine x plus 1.107. And that's the graph there. If you plot y equals to sine x plus 2 cos x, that's what the graph looks like. And if you also plot the answer, you'll get the graph would meet. They'll be the same graph because they are the same. So when you get your answer, sine x plus 2 cos x is equals to square root of 5 sine x plus 1.107. To show that the two graphs are the same, and that's something you can do to check your answer in an exam, you will plot sine x plus 2 cos x, and that will be this red graph. When you put that in your calculator, is there y2, it will be this red graph you see there. And when you put the right hand side, square root of 5 sine x plus 1.105, it will give you this blue graph. And that's the one for the blue graph there. So you notice that you can take the red graph and put on top of the blue one, they will fit together. The fact that they can fit together, it shows that the left side is equals to the right side. That's how you can check your work during the exam. Plot the two graphs, the left side and the right side and left side. And if they fit together, your answers are correct. For question 6b, the temperature theta degrees inside a room on a given day is modeled by the equation theta is equal to 5 plus sine pi t over 12 minus 3 plus 2 cos pi t over 12 minus 3, where t is the number of hours after midnight. Using the equation of the model and your answer to part A, deduce the maximum temperature of the room during this day. So what you want to do now is take what you have done in part A, and x is pi t over 12 minus 3. So replace x with pi t over 12 minus 3. And then what you want to do is to replace all of that with square root of sine pi t over 12 minus 3. So you are using the function in yellow, which replaces the one in red is being replaced by the one in yellow. I repeat, the one in red, I've circled in red, is being replaced by this one in yellow. So when you replace it, the square root of 5 stays the same. You change the x you change it to pi t over 12, because pi t over 12 comes from that first one. And then when the temperature is maximum, the maximum is when sine of all of these I've put in circle is equals to 1. Everything, when the sign is that equals to 1, it is a maximum. And if all of that is equals to 1, you're left with 5 plus root 5 degrees Celsius, which is 7.24 degrees Celsius. Because a sine graph looks like that, and the maximum is at 1. So that gives you the answer 7.24 degrees Celsius. For question 6c, find the time of the day when the maximum temperature occurs, giving your answer to the nearest minute. The maximum occurs when that value is equals to 90 degrees, pi over 2. So pi t over 12 minus 3 plus 1.101 equals to pi over 2. Because if you look at the sine graph, it goes like that. So at 90 degrees, pi over 2 is when you get that maximum value of 1. So you want to solve this to find what t is. You want to make t the subject. So t would be pi over 2 minus 3 goes to the right, it becomes plus 3. Plus 1.107 goes to the right, it becomes minus 1.107. Divide by 12 goes to the right, it becomes times 12. And times pi goes to the right, it becomes divide by pi. And when you put all of that in your calculator, you can see I've done it on the right hand side there. You will get 13.23072737. Now we want to change 0.23072737 to minutes. So we times that by 60. When you multiply by 60, it gives you 13.84, which is roughly 14 minutes, approximately 14 minutes. So the time would be 13:14. That means 1:14. So t is a number of hours after midnight. So 13:14 or 1:14 p.m. or 13 hours and 14 minutes after midnight. And you can also use your calculator to check if it is correct. If you plot that function sine pi x over 12 plus 1.107 minus 3, you will get that curve there. And make sure you use this view window to see the whole graph. And you will see that it occurs at 13.20230, the maximum there. When you use G-solve and find the maximum, it will occur at x equals to 13.23. So that's another way to use the calculator to check if your answer is correct. Question number 7. Figure 1 shows a sketch of a curve C with equation y equals to f of x and a straight line L. The curve C meets L at the point minus 213 and 025 as shown. The shaded region R is bounded by C and L as shown in figure 1. Given that f of x is a quadratic function in x, minus 213 is the minimum turning point of y equals to f of x. Use inequalities to define R. To solve this question, we're going to use this formula. The gradient of a line joining the point with coordinates x1, y1 and x2, y2 is given by that formula. We're going to use that. And we're also going to use this formula. Y minus y1 is equals to m bracket x minus x1. And we're also going to use this one. F of x is equals to a bracket x plus p all squared plus q. And the turning point is minus p q. So very important, the ones I've circled, we're going to use them to do this question. And when you complete the square, this p bracket x plus q all squared plus r is the same like this. And this just shows you the way to complete the square. So we need all these ideas to do this question. So what we want to do first is to establish x1, y1, x2, y2. Now using that formula, the gradient m is 25 minus 13 divided by 0 minus minus 2. That will give us 6 for the gradient. Now we want to write the equation of the line using y minus y1 equals to m bracket x minus x1. So it becomes y minus 25 is equal to 6 bracket x minus 0. So you remove the bracket, 25 goes to the right hand side, it becomes plus 25. So the equation of the line is y equals to 6x plus 25. Now, what we want to do now, we use this equation to complete the square. So we have y equals to a bracket x plus 2 all squared plus 13. Because 2 and 13, minus 2 and 13. So y is 25 and x is 0. So you substitute that in 0 plus 2 squared plus 13 and 25 on the right hand side, on the left hand side. So 25 minus 13, we want to make a the subject. Take plus 13 to the left, it becomes 25 minus 13 and divide by 4 is a. So that gives us a to be 3. So a is 3 bracket x plus 2 all squared plus 13. We can expand this. X plus 2 squared is the same as x plus 2 times x plus 2. When you expand that, it gives you x squared plus 4x plus 4. Now you remove the bracket. 3 times x squared is 3x squared. 3 times 4x is 12x. And 3 times 4 is 12. 12 plus the 13, it gives you 25. So you can write equation of the curve of C is y equals to 3 bracket x plus 2 squared plus 13, or y equals to 3x squared plus 12x plus 25. So when we want to define the shaded area, we want the part which is above the curve, and we want the part which is below the line. Remember that it is above the curve and it is below the line. So region arrow is defined by 3 bracket x plus 2 squared plus 13 less than y less than 6x plus 12. So that is, the less than means is below the line. So it's between the curve and the line. And or you can do the inequalities separately. You don't have to put them together. You can do it separately. Y is less than 6x plus 25. That one I showed you, which is below the line. And y is greater than 3 bracket x plus 2 all squared plus 13, the one which is above that curve. Or you can give it in set notation, x, y, such that y is greater than, bigger than the curve, above the curve, 3 bracket x plus 2 squared plus 13. Intersection, that's what it means, intersection, where they meet, intersection, the xy, where the y less than 6x plus 25, the ones that are below the line. So what they're saying to you is that what is above the curve intersect what is below the line. Let me put this again so you can see clearly. What is above the curve and I'll do it again so you can see there. What is above the curve and what is below the line. So that's what you want to do. Question number 8. A new smartphone was released by a company. The company monitored the total number of phones sold N at time T days after the phone was released. The company observed that during this time, the rate of increase of N was proportional to N. Use this information to write a suitable equation for N in terms of T. So we can have N is equals to A e to the kt, where A and K are positive constants. Or you can write it as N is equals to e to the kt plus c. Or you can write as ln N is equals to kt plus c. Or some people can do it like N is equals to a k to the t. And you can note dn over dt is equals to ak to the t times ln k, which is ln k times n. and dn over dt is proportional to n. And for this one, you can also expand this to write it as n is equals to e to the kt times e to the c. So if you have that as e to the kt times e to the c, and you can call that e to the ca, so that would be a e to the kt, which is the same like this one. So that's just different ways of writing the same answers.